Here we are. All right. Well, welcome, Simon and Neil.
Hey, how you doing, Adam?
Hey, bud. How are you guys? Good to see you both.
Yeah, doing good. How you doing, Neil, all the way over there? Freezing your butt off?
Yeah, this isn't right. I'm not supposed to be freezing in April when baseball season starts and it's after Easter, but I made the choice to leave Los Angeles. So it's cold, snow on the ground.
And it's always amazing, isn't it? How like in a relatively short distance in terms of like the globe, the weather is completely different for you guys, from one side to the other.
Yeah, it is pretty strange when the topography of the United States is pretty funny because, there were days when I was living in LA, I could drive from the beach on a summer day. I could drive to, or not on a summer day, but on a nice day on the beach in the spring or in the fall, I could drive 2 hours and be snow skiing. So it is pretty interesting that you're kind of all over the map. It's freezing here, but if I drove 6 hours south by dinner time, I could be, in Nashville and with my shirt off. So
it is funny. Yeah, we can do that here as well, but it's about there's some snow mountains and skiing and stuff about 5 hours drive north of Melbourne. But it's still funny but probably not on a warm day. But in winter in Melbourne, yeah, you can drive 5 hours and go skiing.
Yeah, cool, very cool.
Well, it's good to finally have you all together. Have us all together, say.
It is. We got the band back together.
Yeah, I know. But first, I want to say a huge thank you, Simon, for putting me on to Neil for getting my baby.
Look at that bad boy. Woo! Or is it a bad girl? It's probably a bad girl, not a bad boy, right?
Well, it's Tiger, so
yeah.
Take it either way.
I love it. It looks good in your hands, brother.
Yeah, great job, Neil.
Yeah, it's been great live. And so many comments about it. People coming up saying, wow, it just sounds great. So thank you.
You know what's great about both of you guys, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate both of you, because I think as an artist, and you guys know this, we're artists innately, and you're kind of always searching for perfection, knowing that you'll never find it.
Sure.
And it's very interesting, whether it's songwriting, whether it's the creation of a piece of art, whether it's playing. The journey, you have to love the journey so much, because you'll never be satisfied. That's the nature of who we are. Yeah. And so no matter how many guitars I crank out for people, I'll get great feedback on it. And then in the back of my mind, I always sit there and say, oh, I wish I would have done this better, or I wish I could have done this, or, oh, if I would, there's one thing I would have changed. And then a lot of these people you never hear from again. So the reason I mention you two is because you guys are proof in the pudding that you guys are playing the guitars that made you live. So I can kind of rest on my laurels a little bit and say, well, they are happy with it, because they didn't just say, hey, great job, thanks, and then disappear and it sits on a shelf. When I see videos you guys playing it, that kind of brings me more joy than you can possibly imagine.
That's beautiful, brother. Well, look, the whole thing that's so special to me about the guitar that you made for me is that it was always going to be a guitar to be played, which all my guitars are. Really, I'm not really much of a guitar collector. I don't really believe in, it'd be like having a hot rod car that never gets driven.
Right.
I think they're made to be played, and so that you can create and express yourself in music with them. So I don't really collect guitars that just sit there. If a guitar sits there for years and years and years, usually what will happen is a student will offer me some money for it and I'll move it on, because I'd rather it gets played by somebody if it's not going to get played by me, because they're made to be played, and that's the other thing that is wonderful about what you do, Neil, is not only are your guitars gorgeous to look at and the attention to detail is meticulous, but they play so beautifully, they fit in the hands. So thank you, sir.
My pleasure. I couldn't, you guys are perfect customers for me.
Well, actually, Adam's already shown his. So for anyone that hasn't seen my one, I'm going to pull it up right now. And this is incredible 5150 era style guitar that Neil made, and we discussed this and as a kid, the Van Halen Live Without a Net video was etched into my brain and to my soul and consciousness. And so when Neil said, look, I mean, I can really do whatever you like. And we'll come back to that in a second, Neil, because we can touch on the fact that you really can make what to order what anyone wants. You don't have a
sure.
one size, you don't have a one size fits all, you know?
Right, right.
And so, yeah, so it was something that we both discussed, and I said, look, the thing that would touch my heart and soul the most would be the guitar that I grew up watching since I was, 12 years old. And you did it for me, which is incredible to me. So thank you, brother.
Both you guys have a similar path with us. And I think you guys are good examples of what I try to do with my builds is make you guys be a part of it, a part of the journey, a part of the build. I constantly refer to during the process as we can do this, we can do this. Hey, what if we did this?
Yeah.
And that's not just a cliche. It's legit. When we're working on something together, the one thing I want to do is make sure that it's custom to you and what you want, and your input means everything. I mean, Simon, we talked for maybe, a month about, getting the right amount of relicking and what era did you want and what shade of, red and all this stuff. Adam, I think we talked for about 2 months. I think we were all over the map. First it was going to be a 5150, then it was a Bumblebee. And then I found out that you're a Kramer guy. So then we started thinking, well, what if we took a Kramer body? And you like to pick, like, all these things, the discussion evolved in such a way that it was so much fun for me. Like, that kind of stuff gets my engine running so much better than, if I was just spitting out the exact same guitar 24/7, that would be one thing, but I'd be a paycheck player, kind of thing. Whereas it gets my artistic juices flowing, having you guys be a part of it, knowing there's not a single other person on the planet that's got the guitar you have.
Yeah. I was actually just going to say that before you said it, and so you've stolen my thunder. But the thing, but the thing that's extra special to me, apart from that, it's a gorgeous guitar, and that it's personal and everything like that. Like you say, it's a journey that we both took together. Is that because of those factors, it is a one of one. It's not like that. You've made 10 of these identically, and I've just picked one off the shelf from Daly Custom Designs. It's really, it's a personal thing that you have done for Adam, and a personal thing that you've done for me. And so knowing that every time you pick it up, that this is a one of one, it's your baby. And that as you were building it, even subconsciously, like, I don't want to sound too cosmic, but as you're building it, you even know who that's going to.
Yeah.
There's no way subconsciously that doesn't make it more special for me, because it's not like you built it and then I just picked one,
right.
Which I'm sure people can do from your business page as well. But the ability that, and the fact that you get so much joy and passion from working with someone and making a bespoke guitar just for them, whatever those little subtle changes are, whether it's a different color, a different pickup, the positioning of the pickup, like obviously on Adam's guitar, you've got that bridge pickup. Yeah, show it again, brother. You got it angled, which I think is super cool. It gives it a really unique vibe that none of Eddie's guitars look exactly like that. And yet very clearly it's a tip of the hat to Ed,
Sure. Yeah. Nobody would doubt that. That's obvious. Yeah. Again, I think what brings me the most excitement is, I've posted pictures in the past of like my workshop and area where I'll have like five 5150s lined up next to each other.
Yeah.
And they're all unique. They're all different. And that's the interesting thing about a custom build for somebody. And, this is kind of funny. Somebody brought this up to me. I got to admit, this isn't my analogy, but I'm going to use it because it's kind of apropos. Somebody once mentioned to me after we did a phone conversation prior to a build, and they were like, I feel like you just did a consultation. Like if I was going to see a new hairstylist for the first time, they were like, somebody sitting there getting to know me, looking through my pictures, seeing what kind of guitar I played, asking me what my favorite bands are aside from Van Halen, to get to know them a little bit. And this is something I do innately without even thinking about it. But it didn't dawn on me until he mentioned it, that that's something that meant a lot to him. He was like, now I know you've taken a lot into account. So this build is going to be special. And Simon, you just described that perfectly. As we talked, the more I got to know you as a person, the more it meant to me to make sure, and knowing what your gig schedule is and knowing what show you've got coming up and why we were doing it meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
So those kind of things, I take all that into account, and that's why I do what I do.
And there's something else on top of that too, which actually I've blanked on that, so I'm going to come back to that. But speaking of the show that I'm using your guitar in, I'm just about to put up a fresh promo similar to the one that you guys have seen recently, but I'm going to put it up on my YouTube channel. So I've kind of tailored it a bit more to stay up there permanently, as opposed to just be like a Facebook promo or an Insta promo, you know?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So I was trying to find where I could add on your Facebook page, but I couldn't find it on YouTube. So that's perfect.
It's not, I didn't put it on YouTube yet because of the way that I had sort of embedded the show information into the video. Yeah. It was really sort of tailored for social media, whereas this version is going to be more tailored to stay permanently on YouTube. But the reason I bring that up is because obviously that guitar that I just showed, the 5150 tribute guitar, which we call Annette,
yes,
features heavily on that video, and of course at the end of that video too, in the credits, I've got all your details, Neil, in case anyone wants to contact you, which is for the Facebook promo thing, like that's just too much for a promo for a show. Whereas with the YouTube thing, because it's permanent, I wanted all that stuff to be in there. But, you know, people, for anyone that hasn't heard it and seen it in action yet, if probably in about 12 hours, if you check my YouTube channel, you will see Neil's guitar that he built me in full flight and sound. And you will see what we're talking about. But, you know, the thing that I was going to say before that escaped me, that has now come back, thankfully, is also, apart from that, Neil, you're able to work with someone and build them something truly special, like the guitar they've always dreamed of. So whether that's their own unique bespoke colors or whatever it is, if it's the way that the profile of the neck feels. But the thing is, and which we always got to keep in mind, that, and, you know, we were talking about this just before we went on air, is the spirit of Edward Van Halen was that he was a tinkerer. He was constantly mucking around and trying different things. I mean, it's become, since he's passed, it's become a bit of an almost a trite expression, but it's like, you know, that it's become apparent through all these new books and stuff that have come out and interviews. He just picked up whatever was lying around in his studio on the day. Sometimes he would attach a new neck. Sometimes he'd find another pickup in a box and put that in. He was ever, you know, a perpetual tinkerer, but he was always looking for his unique thing. And I think, Neil, what you do with your guitar builds and the fact that you can tailor it exactly to the person is what Ed would have done for himself. It's far more in the spirit of Edward Van Halen than making the exact same guitar like 50 times with the same scratches on them. And there's a place for that too, because to me, that's what is great for collecting. You know, that's something that you can say, this is as close to Ed's guitar that's in a museum, right, other than Ed's guitar that's in the museum, you know? Yeah. Wow,
I couldn't have said it better. I think you captured what I try to do. With being the spirit of Eddie. And that's why there's a difference. You know, there are replicas of Eddie's guitars, and there are replica builders out there that are very, very good. Very, very good. And I don't put myself in that class. I've never called mine a replica. I call them tribute guitar. We will call them tribute guitars because it's capturing the spirit of Eddie. And, you know, we'll come as close as we possibly can on the look of it. You know, we want people to recognize it. But
also, Neil, can I just butt in and say that if someone said to you, look, what I want for this guitar is for it to look as close as humanly possible to Ed's actual one from this photograph, you can do that too.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It's just that your default position is, and what you get more excited about is being able to build someone their one of one, you know,
very much so. Very much so. Because coming back to, you know, piggybacking on what you said before, that was the spirit of Eddie when Eddie built his first, the Frankenstrat, was because what he wanted in a guitar wasn't out there. So he wanted something that was identifiable to him. It didn't matter what it looked like. It didn't matter if anybody else thought it looked like a piece of junk. What mattered was what he got out of it. And it's got to be something that when you pick it up, you don't want to put it down. And that's the kind of thing that I go for with every guitar. You know, it's funny, if I can show this really quick.
Yeah, of course.
There's a gentleman I'm building a 5150 right now for. And again, this is a tribute. Keep in mind, this is not, but he is going with a purple scheme here.
We're doing
a purple 5150.
I love it. I'm almost jealous because purple is one of my favorite colors, and I think that looks awesome.
Well, you know what? This is the reason I bring that up is because the conversation I had with the gentleman was fascinating, because we talked about what he wanted. He wanted a 5150. He wanted that. He wanted, all these other details that he went over it. And then somehow the subject of color came up. And he sarcastically threw out there his favorite color is purple. And I said, well, let's do a purple one. And his response kind of floored me. And I get this a lot. The response was, well, wait, can we do that? And I was legit kind of like shocked, because there are so many, rules about replica making. And that's what, if you're doing a replica, you can't deviate off that path. And what I told him was, we're not doing a replica. We're doing a tribute. This has to be your guitar. It's nobody else's but yours. We can do whatever you want. And then but his mind was kind of blown. He literally didn't think that. He was like, are people going to get mad if we do that? Is that, I'm like, this is your guitar. It's absolutely yours. Then we had a lot of fun. Then we had the conversation for a month was choosing the right color purple to make sure the black lines popped. It wasn't too dark. It wasn't, and all this stuff. And that kind of thing, again, like we said at the very beginning, that kind of stuff brings me such joy and excitement.
Speaking of such joy and excitement, can you show me again, please, Neil? Oh man, I think you've picked a really, really beautiful purple too. It's
I do too.
Like a musky purple, like a lilac sort of it's gorgeous.
It actually is very lilac. It's a little bit darker than a lavender.
Lavendery kind of purple. Man, it looks so good. I just love it, because it really makes all the lines pop, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And that's why that was the hardest thing, was making sure, because he originally, he wanted more of a darker, a violet purple kind of thing. And like a regal purple, like a royal purple. And as much as I like that color, the one thing I told him, because I asked him, like, well, where's this guitar going to live? And he said, well, I'm going to play it live. I'm in a tribute band and I'm going to take it on stage live. And I said, okay, I'm glad we're having this conversation, because if you're going to play on a stage, it's going to be dark. You'll be spotlit a couple of times, but stage lighting will be dark. The black lines won't show up if we go too dark or purple. It'll just look like white lines.
That's exactly right. And deep, rich colors, of which I'm a big fan too. And especially even those colors traditionally, like those deep cherry reds and purples and stuff they use even in hot rod cars, the thing is, they look incredible when the sunlight is making them pop, but in dark lighting, they almost look black.
Yes. Yeah, very much so.
And very much so. And with a deep purple, you do run that risk. So I think you're right in that. So unless a stage light's hitting it exactly at the right angle for who's looking at it, you're not gonna. I mean, I've had guitars made, because purple is one of my favorite colors. I've had guitars in the past made purple for me, and that was exactly the same problem we ran into, because on the what do you call it? The swatches, when you spray
color swatches.
They looked unbelievable in the workshop under the lights. Like these deep metallic purples and stuff, and then the finished product was unless it was in the right light, it just didn't pop enough. It looked like almost black.
Yeah. And that's, this guy was very, very appreciative that I thought that out and asked him, because if we didn't have that conversation, it would have been too dark a purple, or that would have worked if this was going to be in a trophy case under a light on display somewhere. It would have worked perfect. That would have been fine. But if this is a guitar going to be played on stage live, you know, this is one of the things that we talked about, and he's so grateful. And we talk, you know, I've sent him I've teased him a little bit. I haven't shown him the whole body yet, and I just put the reflective stickers on tonight. And but he's little by little, he's just been like, man, you know your stuff. Like, I thank you. And again, we are building this together, and that's the one thing, you know, this guy is so much a part of it, and that's what makes it, you know, every time I send him like you know, just a quick snapshot of the wood color on the back against the white and purple, and he's like, that's amazing. And again, I remind him, this was something that we're doing together, because had we not had these conversations, you would have just got a 5150. And now we're doing something that nobody else has.
That's killer, brother. Killer.
I think that's the thing too, Neil. Like with your business, the way you're talking about it with the conversations, to me, that's like a huge bonus for anyone getting a guitar. Like to get this, you know, it's exactly the way I wanted it. There's no way I could have got that anywhere else except for you, you know. Those conversations we had, and showing the pictures back and forth and this and that, just, yeah.
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, Adam, think about how we came up with the headstock, the logo. You know, that was, it was funny. We had the conversation where we talked about, you know, the black and yellow Tigers, the Australian football team, and then your kids and the dog and all these things together. Then all of a sudden we were like, why don't we put the name on the headstock? That's something brand new. Like this, I would have never gotten there on my own if we didn't have these conversations. And then I remember sending you different font samples and letting you choose, you know, letting you pick, that's the font I like. And then we had the water slide made up and all this. I mean, that part of the process is, you know, that's what makes it unique. It's a one-off. It's like Simon said, it's a one of one.
Yeah, for sure.
Love it.
Now Tony's asked, is the green Frankie finished yet?
Is the green?
Green Frankie.
Let's see. Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at that.
There you go,
Here we are with the shamrock green.
Oh, that is so cool.
This actually, I did a matte layer of clear coat on it today to seal in the relicking. Now I got to sand that down, smooth it out. So it won't be glossy. You won't even know that there's a clear coat on it, but it's going to seal in the relicking, the stain, I did like the little, the brown tints from like cigarette ash and stains where the white looks a little yellowed. So I did a lot of that. And you know, the funny thing is I might have backed myself into a corner by talking about that guitar already, because I've had probably 3 or 4 people already say, if that's not sold, I want it. and that kind of, and I'm like, well, it's already going to somebody else. They're like, put me on the list. I want one. I've never seen that color. Let's do it.
It looks awesome. So that one's going to stay matte. What about the purple one? Will that be glossy or matte?
No, he wants it. It's going to be matte. It's going to be matte. He wants it. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. We're going to go with that. And the funny thing is too, if we didn't do any relicking on it, if you wanted like a factory fresh new, the purple and the white would have looked gorgeous glossy. It really would have looked just gorgeous. It had a reflective like mirror type shine on it. Oh, it would have been something else. But again, you know, he wanted the relicking. Yeah. He wanted basically the Live Without a Net stage guitar in purple. And so that's what we're doing, and that's
love it. Yeah. I love it. It's all excellent. The shamrock green looks mad too. That wouldn't be for an Irish person, would it?
Yes, it would. 100%. 100%. We're calling it the leprechaun.
I love it. Well, my father's Irish, so I'll have to get one for him at some point.
Yeah. Well, you know, and the cool thing about that too, again, I had the same conversation with him that I had with the guy about the purple guitar, because originally he was thinking like an emerald green, or, you know, like some sort of like an Wizard of Oz type of green. Everything that he came up with was a little on the dark side, which looks great under lighting, but on stage, if you're going to play it out, the black disappears into it. And that's kind of the problem. And so then once we started talking about green beer and Irish and leprechauns and all this stuff, I'm like, you know, there's a shamrock green that we can do. And I showed him I had a couple color swatches made up, and I showed it to him with a white and black line on it. I gave him a sample and showed it to him, and he was like, that's it. That's it. That's what I've been waiting for.
Great. Love it.
Yeah, a few people in the chat have actually asked for your website and everything, so I'll put a link in there as well, but it's just Daly Custom Designs, isn't it?
Yeah, it's basically just my Facebook page for now. So send everybody to me, Neil Daly or Daly Custom Designs on Facebook. You can also find me on Instagram at Neil Daly Rocks. My Facebook, my home Facebook page is Neil Daly Rocks as well. So you can find me there. But anybody reach out to me. I don't. I'll be honest, I don't post a whole lot of pictures of my works in progress and things because there are legal reasons and trademark reasons.
Yeah.
You want to be careful when you're doing something that somebody else may have ownership to.
Yeah.
So I'm basically, long story short, if whatever you're interested in, reach out to me and I'll privately message you a number of pictures of anything.
Yeah, cool.
And the sky's the limit to anybody that's interested. The sky's the limit. There is no question that is taboo and there is nothing off the wall. So feel free to, let's have a conversation about guitars.
That's it.
Love it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I should say, for anyone that doesn't know, Daly is spelled D-A-L-Y.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, I know we spoke a lot about the actual visual of it, but again, the playing of this guitar, and I'm sure Simon will agree, just amazing. Like as soon as I got the guitar and jumped on, it just felt right. Yeah.
That there are the artist in me, and I'm not kidding when I say this, the artist in me appreciates that comment far more than putting money in the bank. It's, there are a lot of people out there that can make a lot of money doing this kind of thing, but there is no gratification, kind of like a stage performer. The way that you guys feel live on stage when you hear the audience feedback for the first time, it's different than being in a recording studio. Being on stage, you can't beat it. I feel the same way when a guitar player gets my guitar and takes it out and says, I love it. I'm playing it. Watch this video. Look at me. I'm going to put, that means more to me than anything else. That's why we do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And actually, it's funny, Neil, talking about that you build the guitars in the spirit of the way that Eddie was building his guitars. I mean, I sort of think that, the Van Halen, whenever I play Van Halen with Jerry and Jason and Dave Bowers, we don't put on the wigs and we don't wear the spandex and we're not that kind of a show. What we would like to think though is the same thing, is that we just play the music in the spirit of the way that Van Halen played the music. So it's more like that same kind of thing. And actually, if anyone wants to hear the 5150 tribute that Neil built for me, playing with me, sort of just preparing and practicing the live without a net solo, they can hear the audio and see some photos and stuff on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, I've actually put the link in the convo so people can check that out as well.
Yeah, beautiful. And I am, Neil, gonna in the next week or two, as my preparations hopefully near completion, I'm going to do one where I'm actually playing it on video as well, because I think that'll just bring an extra level of engagement, and it will have the next 4 minutes as well. So it'll be like most of the live without a net solo.
I'm so excited. I'm beyond excited for to have my guitars in your hands, both of you and Simon. What we've been gearing up for. It's been a long time coming.
It has been a long time coming. It looks like we're finally here, and there's going to be nothing else to get in the way, which is wonderful. Yeah. And obviously, for you, Neil, who I now call a friend, it's a shame that nothing would tickle me more than to have you live in the room on the show. But of course, we're filming it, so.
Well, don't rule out a possibility of someday me making the trip down there, because I would kill to see you play live just as much as I would kill to see any of my favorite artists play a live show. That's a bucket list thing.
Thank you, brother. Well, actually, I am in talks at the moment with someone who is in the States, taking around a show called The Music of Cream, and it's a show that tours around the world, and all the members are the sons of the original members, which is such a cool concept, isn't it?
That is cool.
But so the gentleman that has put that together has contacted me, and he's very interested in getting us in some capacity, some sort of a show together where we would tour the States. So that you may not need to actually come down to Oz.
well, you don't have to twist my arm to get me to come down there, but anytime you come to the States, man, you got a place to crash. We got stuff to do. You know it,
But
both you guys.
I was just going to say, I know both me and Adam feel the same. If you were ever to consider a little holiday to Australia and Melbourne in particular, then of course, you would be our guest and we'd take you around and show you all the cool things and leave all the rest out.
Sounds good. Listen, the last thing I'm going to mention about the guitar business aspect, and then I want to talk about Simon's show and whatnot. Yeah. I just want to point out for all the people that are in the chat and all the people listening, it doesn't have to be an Eddie Van Halen tribute guitar either. Don't think that I only do striped guitars. I'm more than happy to discuss any type of build. Right. It doesn't have to be a tribute. It can be just what color do you like on a guitar and what kind of finish, that kind of thing. I do custom builds of all shapes and sizes. So yeah, keep that in mind.
That is good to know. And actually, I think I'm going to need to speak to you at some point. I won't tell everyone what it is just now, because it's probably a ways off, but there is something else that I would love would be special. So we'll talk about that.
You got it.
Non-Van Halen related.
You got it. Got it.
But no, that's good to know for everyone. Yeah, that you do those other things as well. And I think that's just another thing that sets you and your Daly Custom Designs a bit apart from just the very focused 5150 replicas. Sorry.
Yep. So, yeah. And like I said, there's enough of a market out there for everybody, and
I think so too.
Yeah. There are replica builders out there that I am good friends with, and I've learned a lot from, and they're very good at what they do. And there's a market for me, and we cross-reference, dependent on people's marketplace. There is a gentleman who sent me business today to do a guitar because he didn't have the time. And it wasn't in the guy's budget for him. So it's, we cross-pollinate each other's work, and we're all supportive. Yeah, we're all supportive. And to be honest with you, if I wasn't any good, I wouldn't get referrals. So that part, the fact that people think of me to do these things, and you guys go on shows and talk about this stuff like that means a lot to me. It makes me, it's, and every, again, without getting too like, I don't know what the word is, too emotional or whatever. I legit feel like everybody that throughout the process, we've become friends. Yeah. I've made a lot of great friends, lifelong friends that I want to stay in touch with, and I want to know how people are doing, and I want to follow up with them. So that's it's been a good journey.
I think that's part and parcel of the fact that you work building someone a one of one. You work with them on what their dream guitar is, that forms some kind of a bond, even if you've never met them face to face.
It does. Yep.
You've done something very special and unique for them, and they know that they have something very, very special and unique from you. And I think that interaction, there's I can totally see that you'd make a lot of new friends around the world, and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. And also, I think we talked about before with the budget, how you're saying, the other great thing with you is that you can really go to someone's budget and design a guitar for their needs as well.
Yeah. We should, before we move on, I should make that, that should be worth mentioning. I'll give you a quick example. Not everybody that I build guitars for are guitar players. I've had a lot of people that are just fans. And there was one gentleman that had in mind what he wanted, and we priced a guitar with period authentic parts and whatnot. And then through the conversation, I started asking him detailed questions about the guitar, and it kind of revealed itself to me that he really didn't know that much about neck radius and profile and what kind of wood. And so I asked him, well, what do you like to play?
Yeah.
What kind of guitar do you like to play? And then he revealed to me, he goes, I don't know how to play the guitar. I just, and so that was interesting. And by the way, I didn't cast any judgment on whatsoever. That's not my place to do that, whatever. But it did open up a whole new door for us to discuss. because then I said, well, if you're not like, we can find cheaper parts, not period authentic parts, things like the Floyd. We can get you a Floyd that's not German 1984 kind of thing. We can put it. Now, I'm not saying, the licensed by Floyd, I wouldn't do something like that, but we found a lot of stuff, and the volume pot didn't matter then. And the pickup didn't matter then, because he wasn't going to play it. He was going to put it in a trophy case, in a display case and everything. So through that conversation, we managed to bring the price down about $400 from where we were originally starting. Awesome. But if you looked at the guitar in the case, you'd never know. You'd never know. And he was so gracious. He's like, you didn't have to go down this road with me. You could have just said, this is what we're doing. And I was like, that's not me, man. That's not me.
Very cool. I think that's awesome. Yeah.
I might have to get a few of those myself just to hang around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but the problem is you'll pick them up and play them. So
that's right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, I just noticed you got 1 month today to get down here, Neil, if you want to check out Simon's band.
All right. I got to start pricing flights. It is, though. Yeah, you're right. 1 month from today.
It's 1 month. Yeah, that's right.
So it's all happening. It's all going ahead.
It's all systems go now, Adam. Yeah, it's we for anyone that hasn't been across it the whole time, we've had to reschedule it about 5 times because of COVID room restrictions in Melbourne. Melbourne, as everyone knows, was one of the worst cities for its lockdownness. And it was such a special show that we've been organizing to put on. We're really throwing the kitchen sink at it in terms of its production values. We really want it to feel like, talking about how Neil builds guitars in the spirit of Eddie. We wanted this to be in the spirit of a Van Halen show, which means we want the big lights, we want the pyros, we want it to feel like a party atmosphere. We want the huge sound. We want 6 Marshall 4x12s. We want we're really it's a rock club, so it's not a huge place. Its capacity is about 700-800 people, but we want it to feel like, if Van Halen were to play on the Strip and do an impromptu show, and it would be just shoulder to shoulder in there and put on a proper show. That's kind of what we wanted to do right from the start when Eddie passed away, as a memorial concert. And obviously so much time has passed now. It's not really a memorial concert anymore. It's really just a celebration of his life. And it looks like everything has settled down now in Melbourne enough that the Corner Hotel have assured me that we've got no room restrictions on a number of people, which is wonderful. And so we're finally able to put on the show that we've envisaged putting on right from the beginning. And so that's why it kept getting bumped. I mean, a few of the times it got bumped because it just simply had to be, because we were just too locked down for the show to go on at all. And then a couple of the other times it got bumped because it was very clear that we were going to have a room capacity of about 150 people, which essentially made it a dinner and show with people sitting at tables. And it was just never designed to be that kind of a thing. It would have blown people off their tables and their food would have been sliding across the table, But so it was just never designed for that. So now finally, everything seems, and thankfully around the world too, it seems like everyone has accepted that, okay, sometimes we're going to get sick from COVID, but we're vaccinated and we just move on, We basically treat it like a flu now, which is perfect. That's how it should be. And so we're looking forward to that. So that'll be on Thursday, May the 19th in Australia. And Neil, we're definitely going to try and do some sort of a live cross when we bump in and do our sound check, because I think time-wise, that'll line up for your mid-evening. Yeah, for
Halenville.
So for Halenville on a Wednesday night, it just so happens to be perfect for our Thursday afternoon, early afternoon bump in. So if we can do some sort of a live cross and then at least give you guys a feel for the room, what it looks like and all that stuff. Of course, Brad loading in my 4x12 and me just pointing where I want him to put them, all that stuff. So look, it's So that'll be really fun too. And there might even be an opportunity to do a couple of other little live things along the way. Like I think that we had discussed if we can, me and Brad in a big production rehearsal space with the full wet, dry, wet setup. And then maybe I can take you guys through the rig or something, you know. And
that would be amazing.
And have it.
Well, just keep in mind, we'll just be happy to be a fly on the wall. You know, you could just hit record on it, go stream live on the camera and go about your day. We'll just sit there and watch.
Yeah, well, I think those kinds of things will be really fun if we can pull off some of that, which I'm sure that we can. And nothing would make me happier and give me more joy than being able to somehow feel like I can involve you, who, you know, is a great new friend, and you know, and with Fruitcake Tony and everyone as well. And, you know, obviously your show has been so welcoming to me since we first met. And so to have you guys involved in some way that's not you guys watching a replay would really be special for me.
Yeah, it'd be special for us too. It really would. I mean, there's just something about being a part of the pre-show, being a part of the, you know, for those of us that can't be there, you know, we're sitting across the pond. So, you know, if we can just get 5 minutes of watching you guys set up, knowing that excitement that's about to transpire, it is going to be something else. So, and this is, you know, I was with you along all the roller coaster of the postponements and all this stuff. Every time we thought we had it and we were going to do a promo for it, and then something happened, all this stuff. Yeah. I want to say that all the stars are aligned right now, and it's probably the way it should have been, because this kind of show, you said it already, this kind of show you wouldn't have wanted to do for a smaller capacity. You wanted to do the show that you wanted to do all along. So if people had to wait a little bit longer, so be it. Now you get to put on the show that you've always dreamed it was supposed to be. Yeah. So that means something.
Exactly. That's right. And you know, this is a one-off special show. It's not, we're not like a Van Halen covers band that just happened to be playing a lot around town.
Right.
It's not that kind of thing. And obviously since Eddie passed and he's one of my guitar heroes, this show is special to me. So for me, if I can't put it on the way I see the show in my head, I'd just rather not put it on.
Agreed.
It's one of those things. So, but it looks like it, as you say, the stars have aligned, the world, everything's settled down a little bit. And especially for the punters too, you know, it's not just that I want to put on this particular show in the way I want to do it. I want to give the people that are paying their ticket money.
Yeah.
I want them to see the best show that I know that ticket money should buy. Yeah. You know, and I think they're going to get that now. So it's really exciting. So all our promo machine is now winding up pretty frantically, and we're going to be sort of throwing everything up on our socials for the next 4 weeks, but also we've got some other sort of promo that we're going to be doing locally here in Melbourne as well, which I think will help, some radio and bits and pieces. So it's going to be a good night.
Yeah. And most importantly, you never had to sacrifice any of your special guests that were going to play. You know, everybody's coming in for it. You know, I know that was part of juggling dates, trying to get everybody back, but you've got a good lineup of people joining you. So
I'm really lucky. The special guests and the different singers that we have are so great and bring their own flavor to it as well. The last thing that we really wanted for this was for people to think like, so for example, you know, we wanted to do a bunch of Sammy Hagar stuff. And had we just got like one singer to do all the Sammy Hagar stuff, then of course people are just going to go, oh, he's the Sammy Hagar. He doesn't sound enough like, so the way that we kind of managed to diffuse that, but in a way that still, to me at least, has some sort of artistic integrity, is we invite a whole bunch of great Melbourne singers that don't really sound anything like Sammy, but can bring their own personality to the songs, you know? And also that way it feels more inclusive as well. It doesn't feel like a band playing at people saying, look what we can do.
Right.
It's more like, it's like almost like a jam night where you're getting your special musician friends that you've known for 20 years up to be a part of it. And so,
it's funny too. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, had Sammy not joined the band, Alex and Eddie talked about doing an album with a bunch of guest stars anyway. So
I
what
heard
you guys
that,
are kind
yeah.
of doing, you guys are kind of doing like your 5150 is just a bunch of guest singers. People joining you. You got your own crew doing the VH1 set. You're doing the first album set again, which, by the way, people need to check out if they haven't seen that. But then the 5150 aspect of it, it's going to be really cool. It's going to be something else.
I think so too. When we first started thinking about it, it was something that was frustrating for me because we really weren't sure that, like, who in Melbourne. I mean, because let's be honest, like almost nobody can sing just like Sammy. Sammy
Yeah.
in his own way is unique, as David Lee Roth is his own way,
Yeah.
and the two of them are chalk and cheese. So we knew that we were never going to have a one size fits all singer that could be a great Dave and a great Sammy. It's just ridiculous.
Yes.
Because Sammy hits notes that actually most good female singers struggle to hit.
Yeah.
And so when we came up with the idea of let's just pick a handful of just such wonderful Melbourne singers, then we knew we had it. Because as you said, Neil, the first half of the show is basically going to be an encore performance of what we did at Melbourne Guitar Show, where we play Van Halen 1 with Dave Bauer singing.
Yep.
And then the second half of the night becomes a bit looser. It becomes a bit more of a free for all. And I think that's really when the party's going to really kick off, So it's going to be great. But it went through a bunch of incarnations. When we thought we were doing it now, like at Easter time, we were going to have black, white, and red painted Easter eggs all through the room. And, we were going to, at each different date, it fell near something, whether it was Christmas or Easter. And so we were going to.
Or Eddie's birthday.
Eddie's birthday was one of them as well. And so, and in a way, I'm sort of grateful because now we don't have to particularly theme the night.
You could just go play.
I don't have to go and get a bunch of foil covered chocolate Easter eggs made up or something, But look, we're still going to have some fun things that we want to do to the room, for example, like the front door of the Corner Hotel, which leads straight out to Swan Street, which is kind of like, to paint a picture, it's like a smaller version of Sunset Strip, but more with restaurants and stuff as well. So it's kind of like a strip of clubs and pubs and bars and restaurants, and we want to have a red carpet coming out on the street, which of course I'm going to put black and white gaff.
Yes, you have to. You have to.
Yeah. So we're gonna have some, like, little things, but lots of fun things to really kind of dress the place up, and so that as soon as people turn up, they know that the whole thing's just a celebration.
Yeah. And that's the way it should be.
We've actually had even Adam doesn't know this. This is, in fact, I don't think I've told anyone yet. We've got a lady who is painstakingly picking brown M&Ms out of corporate sized M&M packets and taking all the brown ones out.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that poor woman.
So we got a couple of fun things like that as well. And I'm thinking, rather than not having the brown ones, we should have separate bowls around the room of just the brown ones, so it's very clear to people that they've been picked out.
That's great.
That's clever. That's really clever.
Anyway, some fun things. But actually, speaking of the revolving door of singers, like what Ed and Al were thinking of after Dave left, to me, because obviously there's some news now that Alex is thinking about, or has been for the last 12 months, about doing something under what headline or banner. It's a bit unclear whether he wants to call it Van Halen or something else, but to me, the best thing, if Al wants to play, and I think I speak for everyone when I say, not only is he one of the greatest drummers in the world, but he's one of my personal favorite drummers in the world as well. And I just think that it must be so hard to hit drums and have your own sound. I think that's almost harder than playing guitar and having your own sound. But because of the nature of that, it's such a quick attack. It's just something that you hit,
Yeah.
But Alex, man, that kick drum and that snare and those cymbals, the minute he starts a beat, that's Al. And I think, and nothing would make me happier than for him to be out playing. It really wouldn't. Although what I would say is, I think the best thing that he could do would be to do the same thing and have a revolving door of incredible guitarists, so that his, for whatever his future is under the brand name Van Halen or whatever else, it doesn't get stamped with one guy,
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I guess for lack of a better way of explaining it to, I just hope I hope he does something that makes it still exciting for him.
Yeah.
Because that first time that he jumps back on stage and tries to play a show without his brother being in front of him is going to be something else. So I think if they signed one guitar player up to play the show, that's going to feel like a replacement. Whereas what you just said makes perfect sense. If you bring in a bunch of people, if you have a Rolodex of 6-7 different guitar players that come out and do a song or two, I think that would feel fresh, and I could see that being something that excites them.
And also, to be honest, if that was something that they were going to tour, that's something that I would want to pay ticket money to go and see.
There you go. Yeah.
Even if it was all Van Halen songs, but it was like, so Nuno came out and did his 3, say Mean Street and this and that, and then Joe Satriani came out and did his favorite 3. And then Lukather, who was a mate of Ed's, came out and did his favorite 3. And then, to me, I would love to see that show, because it would be really interesting also how each different guitarist played and sounded with Al, Yeah,
that would be really neat. It just reminds me about a month before I left Los Angeles. So this is probably January. Our friend Toshi, invited me to at the Whiskey A Go-Go. They had a Van Halen jam night.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where there was probably a dozen different bands, maybe even more. For about 3 hours, they had either like a house band and different guitar players came up on stage and played. Everybody chose a couple of songs they wanted to do, or a bunch of different bands, but it felt fresh and exciting. And it didn't feel like one guitar player was trying to be Van Halen. It felt like a celebration of his music.
Yep.
And that was really something else. And that's kind of what you're describing. I think that would be really neat. What better way to celebrate Eddie than if Alex went back on stage and brought a bunch of his favorite guitarists out and everybody did a tribute to him.
I think that would be amazing. And it would also mean that it opens that door in terms of people's expectations, that you could do the same thing with singers. Like you could have, why not? I know everyone says that Roth and Sammy will never be on the same stage or do the same gig ever again. But with Eddie gone, maybe that's changed a little bit, and maybe if it was Al putting it together instead of somebody else, maybe they might think a little differently, maybe even if it involved Gary as well. Like, imagine that if you had Roth, Sammy and Gary and different guitarists, and then you had Michael Anthony, and then maybe even had Wolfie get up and play bass for some songs. That would be, if that was like a big stadium tour, I reckon that would absolutely sell out.
People would go. And then, to come full circle, the other thought process is, let's be honest, if Alex replaced Van Halen, Eddie, with another guitar player and they recorded a new album, can you imagine the scrutiny that poor guitar player would be under? He would never, ever, no matter how good you are, you'll always be the guy that tried to replace Eddie Van Halen in Van Halen. So I think what you're saying makes perfect sense. Either Alex start a new band and become, start something new with new players and do something not under the moniker of Van Halen, or if you're going to go out and play Van Halen, then just bring in a greatest hits of your best friends in the business and make it just a party.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. I think it needs to be, well, look, it doesn't need to be anything. Alex will do what he's going to do.
Right, true.
But to me, the two things that I think would work the best are what you just said. So if he's going to do it and tour it as Van Halen, then you'd have a revolving door of special guest guitarists, and then you'd play all the music of Van Halen. But if it wants to be about recording a new album and doing new music, then I think that you don't call it Van Halen, you call it something else. Because if you get a known guitarist, like say Joe Satriani or anybody else, their sound and their style is so established. There's just no way that all us fans are ever going to hear those guitar parts as Van Halen. Just never.
Right.
And if you got an unknown guy, like say if some guy that Alex knows that plays unbelievable and knew Eddie maybe and all of that, then as you say, the scrutiny on that poor dude is going to be out of, I mean, you're going to get more hate than you're going to get love. That's
and that's unfortunate. I mean, look at it this way. Look at the scrutiny that Wolfgang himself has got. The people that blast him. And this guy's phenomenal at just about everything he does. Yet there is so much hate and vitriol spent at him. Can you imagine somebody without the name Van Halen attached to it trying to play in Van Halen? I mean, that poor guy.
I know that Wolfgang
girl
is I know that Wolfgang is just completely not interested at all, and I give him props for that.
I love him for that.
Yeah, me too. I think the fact that he's like, listen, I'm my own artist. Yes, I'm Eddie Van Halen's son, but I write my own music and I've got my own thing. And the fact that he has stuck to that just absolutely doggedly, I really respect. I really do. But I think if there's any way that Alex was going to record a new album and want to call it Van Halen, would be as if Wolfie was on guitar.
Yeah. Well said.
I think that if that happened, the fans would accept that unquestionably. There's still going to be some haters, like you say.
I agree.
But I think that the fact that it's Eddie's son means you can still call it Van Halen. But Wolfie doesn't want to do it, so that's the end of that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Well said. Listen, gentlemen, I'm going to let you guys continue on your own. Unfortunately, I've got to go grab dinner. But what I want to showcase really quick before we go, just for fans out there, is a work in progress right now, a Charvel Zebra that we're working on right now.
Look at that.
Double pickup, not quite a Charvel San Dimas body, but this is going to be a lot of fun for somebody.
Oh yeah.
So just to kind of give people a teaser out there to let them know that I it's not all Van Halen, although that's always going to be my favorite.
Awesome, Neil. Good to see you, brother.
Gentlemen, thank you guys both for having me on. It's a pleasure to talk to you guys all the time. I could do this all night. I love you both. Stay safe, stay well. And Simon, good luck.
Thank you, Neil. See you next time.
Neil.
See you, Adam. Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right. But yeah, thank you again, Simon, for putting me in contact with Neil. Like I said, I couldn't be more happier with that guitar. It's just like the best thing ever.
Neil is the bomb. And I'm sure that if anyone's not familiar with him or his work and they've been watching this, you'll get a pretty good also sense of who Neil is as a human being. Yep. And he is an absolute gentleman. Both Adam and I are proud to call him a new friend that we've made in the last, since COVID, really. And making new friends during COVID is not an easy thing, but with Neil, it's easy because he's that kind of a guy, and not only a sweetheart of a man, but a very talented man. Yeah. And he's built you an absolutely incredible one-of-one guitar, and he's built me my version of like a one-of-one. I know mine is kind of less unique in the sense that what I really wanted from Neil was just unashamedly something that reminded me of Live Without a Net. And that was, and I even said to him at the time, I said, because he said, dude, I can do anything you want, just make it yours, and I said, oh man, you're going to hate me. I know they probably get asked this all the time. I said, but what really, what would just tickle my fancy the most would be that. Anyway, he built it and he did such a beautiful, beautiful job. It's my main axe now for the Van Halen show. But the thing is, it's like a first step. So the fact that I now know what Neil can do. So yes, maybe for him, it wasn't the most like stepping outside of his box kind of build, but I've already got a couple of ideas for future builds now where he'll be able to step out of his Van Halen box a little bit and have some fun. So, yeah.
That's good. At least now you can probably go over there and pick it up yourself too. Hopefully.
Well, absolutely. Now that the world has opened up a bit, I mean, geez, I'd love nothing more. It's a shame that I don't think there's any big expos or anything really happening yet over there, is there, Adam?
I think so, no.
I've heard some people on some shows talking about whether NAMM's happening or not happening, but the feeling I'm getting is that even if it does happen, it's going to be a very, very different kind of NAMM.
Yep.
It's not. Have you ever been over there for that?
No, not for NAMM, no.
Because that would have been a cool trip for both of us to go over to NAMM and then catch up with Neil and whoever else,
Yeah, maybe next year.
maybe next year. Exactly. Never say never, but yeah, no, it's he builds a mean guitar. So again, it's a Daly, Daly Custom Designs. If you look it up on Facebook, you'll see all his stuff, and yeah, he's the man.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, just quickly, I just want to ask about your show. If it does get sold out, is there any possible chance that it will be like a pay-per-view type thing?
Probably not. I've thought about that, and I've also thought about live streaming it and doing it that way. My feeling is that it's starting to sell really, really well now that I think people have accepted that it's not going to get moved or cancelled again.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to quite sell out. I think people are still slightly tentative, and for that reason, 800 people is a lot in Melbourne for that kind of a show. So I think we'll get close, but I don't think it'll sell out. But I don't think I've sort of got enough moving parts already on the night with having like a film crew and photographers and stuff like that. I probably, and it's going to be the first time that I will be using my big wet rig with the Eventide H3000 and all those things. I'm going to have so many things to think about. I think that's just one thing I don't want to have to think about as well. I could probably organize someone to take care of it for me, but it's just, I think I prefer to not have it in the back of my mind. But again, for anyone in Melbourne, I don't think that it's going to completely sell out anyway, but who knows, famous last words. But I would say, if anyone's interested in tickets, they're available only from the Corner Hotel. So you can just go to their website, cornerhotel.com. But I would get them sooner than later because they send me a remittance email every week of how the tickets are selling, and they're starting to move pretty quickly. So
yeah. And I hope to put that link in the notes as well, which I'll put on the YouTube channel as well.
Great.
And Tony did say that he's definitely dedicate Wednesday's show to you.
Cool.
On the 18th will be in America, I think, of May. So yeah.
That's cute. Well, if you want to be involved in that too, brother, I think that would be heaps of fun. I'm not sure what you're up to that Thursday afternoon, but we could do some live crosses to Tony from the Corner Hotel, and that would be a riot. Yeah.
I'll be there to do whatever you want.
Okay, beautiful.
All right. Well, I suppose we'll let you get going with your day as well. But thanks very much again for doing this and for putting one to Neil. And
it's such a pleasure. Thank you for having me on, brother. And we've got one big, gorgeous Van Halen community around the world. I mean, what I will say is that as much as COVID's been, a real nuisance for everyone, and that's obviously putting it lightly for some families that have gone through really extra horrible times. Excuse me. But one of the things that I think that is great about humans is we always find a way to communicate with each other, even when the world is completely shut down. And it forced us to communicate in new ways by like lots of live streaming and online stuff. And so like you and I are now friends with Neil, who who knows, if had Ed not passed and COVID not happened, it's entirely possible that you and I would still not even know who Neil Daly is,
exactly.
or anybody else. I met some wonderful friends over in the States through Eddie Van Halen live shows and things like that. And I just think that the way that, I don't know how to say this, but I don't want it to sound like I'm sort of oversimplifying or taking it for granted, but in Ed's passing, what he's done is he's actually brought his fans and his community closer together than ever before while he was alive, and we're not talking about just from us and America either. We're talking about all over the world, Europe and everywhere. There's now this community of passionate and feeling human beings who are now all in touch with each other through social media. And had Ed not passed, that still would not have happened. I think his death was so shocking to everyone that the sort of, the rebound effect of that was that everyone wanted to communicate and share either their joy and their passion about concerts they went to in 1981 in some city, or sort of virtually hug it out on you know, their sorrow for Ed not being around anymore. So sort of a byproduct of his passing is he actually gave us an incredible gift. And I think that COVID, even though we would never have willed it or wished it, has sort of added to that, because it meant that we didn't take for granted that we could just catch up with our buddies down at the pub or at a cafe or you know, in a lounge room watching reruns of Live Without a Net or whatever. we were kind of forced online to meet this wider community and meet all these people, which we now have, and I think it's awesome. You know.
Yeah. I mean, like you're saying, the amount of shows are out there now, like different YouTube ones, and that's it's just great seeing all these people come together. And
I didn't even know before Ed passed that any of these things even existed, to be honest. It was only that because I was stuck at home. And if you recall, when Ed passed, I mean, Melbourne was in full lockdown. Like, I'm pretty sure that you were only allowed to be with your partner or a family, immediate family. I couldn't, well, technically anyway, couldn't even be dropping off groceries to my parents. You know, it was because they were outside that 5 kilometer radius. When he passed, we were that locked down. And so even some of my best friends were like, oh man, I'd come over with a 6-pack, but I can't, you know?
Right.
So we didn't even really get to hug it out. And that's what forced me on to, you know, I just started Googling things and finding things on YouTube or finding things on Insta. And that's how I came across a lot of these people and a lot of these shows. And it was fascinating to me because I didn't even know half this stuff existed, but it's a beautiful thing. And it's really lovely to see that out of tragedy, humans can find a way to connect.
Yeah. Actually, going back to that day, I think you're the very first person I messaged to say, hey, is this real or am I having a nightmare, you know?
Yeah, I didn't know if it was real at first either, brother. So it definitely felt like something that was like a really poor taste joke, you know? Yeah. Or fake news as they call it or whatever, you know? So, that was by the end of that afternoon, that was a rough day.
Oh yeah.
Because it was very clear that it was real. And I'm sure that you felt the same as me, but I felt an emptiness and a sadness that I didn't know a musician that I'd never met could make me feel, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It was a very, very surreal experience. I know that was the same for a lot of people, actually. That overwhelmingly what I've heard people say is that they were unprepared for how upset they were about it.
Exactly.
You know, it affected them almost like it was a family member passing away.
100%. Yeah, I agree with that.
Just goes to show that the power of music and how, because we've absorbed it since we were kids, essentially, I think especially at that age, when you're young, you absorb things on a much more deep spiritual level than when you just experience music as an adult. Yep. And I think that because Ed was the music of our youth, it buried itself into our DNA somehow. I know it had for me. I'm sure it did for you. And I think that's why, you realize the power of, talk about it often, and it's talked about on talent shows on TV, like The Voice or, Australian Idol, American Idol, this and that. Everyone talks about, the power of music, bringing people, but it's only when someone that has touched you as a child passes away that you realize fully what that means, the power of music, and it's very much, it's very, very deep. It's definitely more than just dancing in a nightclub.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, look forward to seeing your show. I'll definitely be there, 100%.
Well, we'll speak before then, of course, brother. No problem.
Yeah.
But look, thank you again for having me on. And always a pleasure to have any excuse to be on chatting with Neil.
Yeah.
If anyone's looking for something special, I don't need to say it again, but I will anyway. Please contact him. Check out Daly Custom Designs on Facebook, DALY, and you'll see all his great work there. You can see the guitar he built for Adam on Adam's socials. And if you check out mine and my YouTube channel, you'll see the 5150 tribute guitar he built for me as well.
Yeah, and so you got the other one coming up later today.
Oh yeah, so I've got the full promo that'll stay up on YouTube for a while. So I've just tweaked it, changed a few things. Later today, like maybe in 6 hours or so. Yeah,
cool. Yeah, because I think Tony was saying in the chat you couldn't find the promo, so maybe look out for that one.
Yeah, that'll be on, and my YouTube channel is just Simon Hosford. If you search that in YouTube, it'll come straight up. Just look for the bald guy because bald is better.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, mate. Really appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. Thanks for having me on, Adam. Have a great day, and we'll of course chat soon.
Yep, for sure. All right.
Thanks, bro.
Later. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.